الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين على مر الأيام والليالي والشهور والسنين. أما بعد. We continue Kitaab At-Tawheed. It's this day of August the 9th. I'm sorry everyone. The time right now is 7:10 p.m., 7:11 p.m. August the 9th, Friday, 2019 on the Gregorian calendar, which agrees with today would be officially now. Wow, today is the first day of Hajj. Well, today was the first day of Hajj, where everybody is going to Mina. Where everybody's gathering in Mina. And tomorrow will be tomorrow will be Yawm Arafah. Is Yawm Arafah. That is Hajj, is the message of Allah ﷺ mentioned. So we said in regards to Dhul Hijjah, as the Eid will be this Sunday. I forgot to mention the year, which is 1440 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam. So don't I forget everyone, tomorrow is Yawm Arafah. If one is to fast, and then he should fast inshallah. And they say that fast on the day of Arafah is sunnah mu'akkada, it's a highly emphasized sunnah. If one wants to do it, he should, in order to attain that tremendous reward that the Message of Allah mentioned in authentic narration, that yukaffir as-sanat al-madiyah wal-mustaqbalah. The fasting on the day of Arafah, that it remits the sins, what is done previously, or in the past, or what is done in the future, if the major sins are avoided. However, if one was to perform Hajj, as we mentioned today, as Hajj remits the major sins. Also, a lot of people do not know that. In regards to Hajj, Hajj also removes the major sins. It's not just the Sagha'ir. As Hajj also removes the Kaba'ir. As Hajj also removes and remits the major sins. Fine. Let's return back to the book, everyone, so we can complete the chapter. We completed the narration when the Message of Allah ﷺ mentioned the prohibition of taking upon masajid وَالْمُتَّخِذِينَ عَلَيْهَا الْمَسَاجِدِ وَالسُّرُجِ. The prohibition, rather the la'na of the Message of Allah ﷺ falling upon or descending upon people who took the graves as masajid, and those who ignite lanterns or those type of lighting around graves. So that was also impermissible, what we mentioned. And that was the last narration where we stopped there from last week. We said that the Message of Allah cursed. You'll find that the different narrations that comes, which we'll talk about, from them is the la'an, whether it be of Allah or the la'an, the curse of Allah or the curse of the Message of Allah, or you'll find narrations where the Message of Allah said the wrath of Allah descended upon, or the wrath of Allah became severe upon a certain people that did such and such act, or what may come as a major punishment in this world and the hereafter. All those type of alfaz or wording in hadith are indication that sin is from the kaba'ir, is from the major sins. Here in this narration you'll find, what does it say everyone, that the Message of Allah cursed, la'an Rasulullah sallallahu. We already explained last week in regards to the wording zawarat al-qubur, those women that constantly visit the graves. We gave all the narrations and the ahkam or the rulings in regards to what Ahl-Ilm mentioned about how the women should not visit the graves, and those with the great Imam al-Albani mentioned that he said in this tremendous book entitled Kitaab al-Janaiz, or the book of funerals, you'll find the position that he took, that he said, rahimahullah, that women and men are the same. regards to visiting the graves, but he put along with that conditions. Conditions saying they should not constantly do it. And تفضل. They should not constantly do it. And in regards to the one or the woman who's very emotional, that she should stay away from visiting the graves, especially those women who are weak and they are very emotional, out of fear that they will be overcome by their emotions and they'll fall into something prohibited. But you'll find that a lot of Ahl Ilm that we mentioned is said that such, for example, the great Imam Abdul-Aziz ibn Baz, and also the great Imam Muhammad Aman al-Jami, and the great Imam Muhammad ibn Uthaymeen, and the Lajna al-Da'imah, said that the woman should not visit the graves, especially in these days and times, in order to shut the door of a prohibition taking place based upon what is the reality, what takes place in all the Muslim countries currently. You'll find that a lot of women who fall into worshipping the graves, whereas you'll find the majority of people in these days and times, especially those who are from the deviant sects, such as the Sufis, what they do is they do four main things, even though there's others, but four main things that they do around the graves. You'll find that they make what they call dhabh. They slaughter for the dead or for that person who's in the grave or the deceased. They make dhabh, nadhr, tawaf, and tamassuh. Four things you'll find a lot of the Muslims do in a lot of Muslim countries in regards to the dead. You'll find, number one, you'll find them making dhabh. They're slaughtering for other than Allah. Number two, you'll find them slaughtering for other than Allah. Also making nadhr, taking oaths for the deceased or for the dead. Number three, you'll find them, like we said, making dhabh. You'll find them slaughtering for the deceased, taking oaths for the deceased. You'll find them also rubbing themselves with dirt or rubbing their bodies, which is called tabarruk. They're seeking blessing by the grave or the dirt around the grave or what have you. What they call tamassuh. Tamassuh means like to wipe themselves, but technically it's connected with what we've covered in other classes, which is called tabarruk, which is called what, everyone? Tabarruk. We are actually trying to attain blessing by rubbing yourself or taking the dirt and putting it on your body or rubbing it on your body or what have you. So what they do is when the graves, you find that the majority of them, this is what they do in these days and times, which is number one, dhabh, wa nadhr, wa tabarruk, and tawaf. You'll also find in a lot of Muslim countries that they actually go around the graves out of worship. What they call, I think it's circumambulation, where they go around the graves, or they make tawaf, and we said tawaf is only for the Kaaba. Despite of that, you'll find that they actually go around the graves, going around them as they would if they was to perform worship around the Kaaba. They'll do it around the grave of the dead person. Take in consideration that anyone that does this, if you do it, your Islam is nullified. Your religion of you being Muslim is nullified, meaning it's not valid anymore. You're not Muslim no more. Because all these affairs are from those matters that will negate and nullify your Islam, or nullify your religion. And from those affairs is shirk with Allah Ta'ala. Like I said again, and I'll repeat it, from the main things you'll find that takes place around the graves of the dead people, especially in a lot of Muslim countries these days, is number one, is a dhabh, slaughtering or sacrificing for them. Number two is another, taking an oath for them. Number three is tamassuh, what they call tabarruk, wiping themselves with the dirt, or taking themselves and wiping their bodies with the dirt. And you'll be surprised at some of the things that the women do around the graveyards, where they actually take their private part or from their chest and rub the dirt upon the grave of the individual who's deceased, who's dead in the graves. And number four, as we mentioned, was what, everyone? Making tawaf, which is circumambulation around the grave of the deceased. You'll find that a lot of Muslim countries do this, especially those who are involved and who are brought upon or raised upon or cultivated upon Sufiya. You'll find that they do this, and like we said, these are the affairs that will nullify your Islam if you do it. If one does this act, your Islam is nullified. If you die in a state, like we said, you cannot use the excuse, I'm jahil, because now you're being taught. If a person dies in a state, brothers and sisters, we said that a person dies and he'll be from the inhabitants of hell forever. He or she will be from the inhabitants of the hellfire forever if you die in this state. It's from those affairs, like we said, nullifies your Islam if you die in that state. And there's others of what we've covered in last class. But, like we said, this is the majority, which you'll find that a lot of Muslim countries, this is what they indulge in. Especially these four aspects of worship, which we just mentioned. طيب. So we said that the Messenger of Allah cursed لَعْنَ الْمُتَّخِذِينَ عَلَيْهَا الْمَسَاجِدِ وَالسُّرُجِ. That the Messenger of Allah, that he cursed those who take the graves as masajid. Take the graves as masajid, and they also put some type of enlightenment or light around them, or ignite torches, or what have you, no matter what it is. In these days and times, they use type of light or some type of lighting. Also, that is a cursed act. Why is it a cursed act, everyone? Because we said it leads to the road of polytheism. That is the reason why the Messenger of Allah cursed the one who does this. And the curse of the Messenger of Allah is the curse of Allah, descending upon an individual if he does this. We talked about in regards to the usage of Isra or Suruj, and we said the word Israj or Suruj. Suruj is like a lantern or torch or something you would ignite to give light to something or some place. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's the meaning of Suruj. The plural or the singular is Siraj. 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 Siraj Pidjim. The plural is Suruj. Suruj is any type or anything that is utilized to give light to something or someone or something or some place. Excuse me. It's to give light. That's called a suruj. We said that what is permissible from this affair is what, everyone? What did we mention that the great Imam, I'll read it real quickly. Even with the great Imam, Sheikh Abdul-Aziz bin Baz, rahimahullah, as he said, هل يجوز إضاءة المقابر والطرق التي بين القبور? Is it permissible to give light to the graves and to the roads which is between the graves? And he answered by saying, إذا كان لمصلحة الناس عند الدفن أو كان في السور فلا بأس. He says, if it's for the need of the people or the benefit of the people, meaning they need to utilize it and it's nighttime, for example, and they can't see, and they need to bury the deceased. They need to bury the one who's deceased. They use it for a need. Or if it's sur, meaning if it's in a little room, a room where the light is inside of it. As you see, certain people that watch over the graves, they have like a little side room or what have you that watch over the actual graveyard, and the light is inside of that, for example. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? The light is inside that for those people who watch over the graveyards or what have you. Is it clear what I'm saying? There's a little room or a little type of, if you want to say, a little small place that the people take in order to watch over the graves, to make sure it's secure, to make sure there isn't any type of funny business taking place in these specific places. But if the light is inside of that, then likewise, inshallah, there's no problem. He says, أما وضع السرج والأنوار على القبور فلا يجوز. As for to put lanterns or any type of lighting on top of the grave, that is not permissible. The Messenger of Allah, and he used the hadith of which we're discussing now, we're using now. He said, وَإِذَا كَانَتِ الْإِضَاءَ فِي الشَّارِعِ الَّذِي يَمُرُّ بِقُرْبِهَا فَلَا بَأْسٍ. He says, as far as the lights is in the street outside of the graves, for example, which the people pass by, and it happens to be close by the graves, but it's outside of it, then that's no problem also. He said, وَإِذَا وَضَعَ اللَّمْبَةَ عِنْدَ الْحَاجَةِ تُضِيءُ لَهُمْ عِنْدَ الدَّفْنِ أو أتوا بسراج وبسراج معهم لهذا الغرض فلا بأس. To the end of what he said, rahimahullah. He went on to go saying in regards to giving a little bit more clarification. He said, وَإِذَا وَضَعَ اللَّمْبَةِ, if a person puts a lamp due to necessity to give light to the people during the actual burial of the deceased, or they bring a siraj, or they bring some type of torch or something that gives light along with them for this purpose, then inshallah that's no problem. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear or is it not clear? Wake him up. Is it clear or is it not clear? طيب. But we said to light a torch or a lantern on top of a grave, to set it on top and to leave it there, and to leave it some type of light around, or having a light just happen to be what? Focused on the grave specifically. But it might be a group of lights and that light is focused on that one place and it's left alone. No. That is what we said is impermissible, and this falls under the la'an of the Messenger of Allah, which he warned severely against, out of fear that this will be something that will lead the people to the road of polytheism, and this will be the result of the people falling into most uglified, vilified sin that any human being could commit. And like we said, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa, these type of matters are not something easy. These are very, very severe. If a person dies in the state, he'll be in hell forever. You've been in hellfire forever, eternally. You'll be in hell forever. That's the reason why you'll find that Ahl Sunnah, especially the Salafis, they start with calling the people to these matters first, before anything else. Because these are all considered the foundation in which Islam is based upon. And if any type of foundation is weak, or it has not been built in the first place, then what you build on top of that, of a structure that comes on top of either the foundation being weak or it's not there at all, it's going to fall. And yet Islam is not going to be strong because it's not based upon anything firm. That's the reason why you'll find that those who truly know the value of what we're studying, they always start their da'wah with it and they focus on it. These are the matters that are very important and vital, especially if one was to preserve his Islam and not fall into it being nullified. So what we said, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa, we said in this regard, so we said that lighting a lantern around the graves is from the kaba'ir, it's from the major sins. It's from those affairs that will what? And it will cause one to fall under the la'an or the curse of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. And we said the curse of the Messenger of Allah is the curse of Allah. The curse of the Messenger of Allah is the curse of Allah. And how does one think he will succeed and prosper if he falls under the curse of the Messenger of Allah, which, like we said, is the curse of Allah? How do you think you're going to what? Prosper and succeed and be successful and be given tawfiq in any affair if you fall into something that the Messenger of Allah highly warned against? And what's so crazy and amazing and astonishing is you'll find that the Muslims out there that are actually doing this and will find evidences and proofs to substantiate it, which is what? Which is totally backwards and shows you how far away a lot of the Muslims have deviated from the truth. So we said in regards to the Israj. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, one of the ways he protected the affairs of monotheism is he shut all the doors off from anything that leads to it. And that's the next chapter, and that's the title of it, which is going to come inshallah. So we said that if it's taken as a need, then there's no problem. Other than that, for the lights or anything to be used in order to give light to a specific grave or light around it, or there be tall lights or huge lights and it focuses on one specific grave, all of that is what, everyone? All of that is impermissible. Like I told all of the brothers, especially here, one day I'm going to teach everyone, I'm going to teach you guys how to eat and give a diet so you guys can be up. A lot of people think it's exercise, especially here in America. Exercise and fitness is only 20%. Maybe, and then we could give it maybe 25%. People, that's what America puts in your head. Oh, you don't exercise. The reason why you're tired is because you don't exercise enough. No. Exercise and fitness is only 20%. 80% of it is diet. 80% is what you put in your body. 20% just enhances. It enhances and And it builds upon the foundation, which is your diet. Which we'll talk about, inshallah. But I teach you guys that the majority, especially foods here in America, the more you study, the more it'll turn you off how this country was designed to make everybody tired. And the food you eat was designed to make you tired. It truly is. The juices, the Doritos, all the other things, the cookies, the Chips Ahoy, all those foods were made and designed to make you tired. And it was also designed to take away your manhood, too. Yes. High sugary diets takes away your manhood. Yes, it does. That's why a lot of people think, how do these women develop so fast? And why are these men so lazy? That's because a lot of these foods are estrogen prone. And estrogen is the dominant gene in women. That's why you'll find a lot of these foods. It helps the women and it weakens the men. That's why you'll see a lot of these girls developing around 10, 12 years old. And they have bodies of 25-year-old grown women. However, the disadvantage is that when they do truly become grown, they start to have bodies like a 50-year-old woman. But in regards to what I'm saying, brothers, if you guys study and know how to eat and look at nutrition and start to study it, you'll find that the majority of foods out here were made for you to be tired and to take away your manhood. Yes, it was. Yes, it is. It's designed for that. And if you truly follow the sunnah, the message of Allah and what Islam comes with, that is what's going to save your manhood. Because you'll find that fasting raises the dominant gene in a man's body, which is called testosterone. And you know how they say effectively, you know how to boost it? By fasting. Fasting raises your testosterone, raises it high. Just hold on for a second. It raises it high, and it makes, that's the dominant gene in the man. It makes a man a man. It makes a man, which is testosterone. That's the dominant gene. The way you raise it and stimulate it is by fasting. That's one of the best ways to do it. Of course, exercise, what they call deadlifts and all that with the legs, yeah, that's a little bit. But that's only 700. It boosts it by 700, which is deadlifts and the weights and the legs. That's 700%. You know what boosted by 1,500 to 2,000%? Fasting. Fasting. Raises man testosterone. Makes you a man. And testosterone is what gives you energy. And it makes you get muscle. And it makes you look like a man. You understand, everyone? The high sugary diets of America is what lowers your testosterone. And it raises your estrogen, which is the female dominant trait in women. That gets raised in men. So when you get a female, now the estrogen in your body is getting high. What you think is going to happen to your body? It's going to start having female what? Hormones that dominate your body. You start acting like a woman. You understand, everyone? So one day when I might actually start a class here in the masjid of how to eat. Because you guys have to be focused when you're in these classes. You have to be focused. You have to be alert. You have to be up. You have to be attentive. And you have to also make sure you're focused. Which, inshallah, one day I'm going to teach you guys. I'm going to do an actual diet class because I think our community needs it. So we can stop being like this in the middle of class. The majority of that happens usually after you finish eating. And there's a reason for that. And that's not good. To eat and go to sleep, that's not natural. It's a reason why you're doing it. That shows you're eating wrong. You're not supposed to eat and go to sleep. There's something wrong with that. I'll teach you about that later. Teach you guys about that later. طيب. So in this regard, what we mentioned is said. Don't worry, I'm going to give a whole class one day on how to eat. Yes, and it's not the actual chart that America's put in. That chart is incorrect. That's garbage. Don't even go by that chart. There's another way you're supposed to eat. I'll teach you about it later. You're supposed to eat another way. And I'll show you guys that later on. What I gave as suggestions in the previous classes before, I gave you guys that. One of them, I said the first step is to get, and I've told the brothers and sisters this, get what they call an electrolyte powder, which is called electrolyte powder. Dr. Berg, get that. You need that in your home. For the children, for yourself, for your wife, everyone. It does not give you any sugar response, no glucose response, no insulin response, nothing. And it gives you 1,000 milligrams of potassium, but one serving. And magnesium, and sea salt, and everything that gives you energy to regulate your what? Regulate your electrolytes in your body. You guys need that. Your kids need it. you need it. If it's less in your body, you will get high blood pressure. If it's not in your body, you'll get migraines. If it's not in your body, you could get a heart attack. If it's not in your body, you will not be able to go to sleep good at night, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And you'll be moody. That's another thing. You'll be very moody. You'll be tired. And you'll not be able to go to the bathroom. And you'll get heart palpitations. And the list goes on and on and on. Trust me. And you'll get high blood pressure. And your sugar levels will be off, and you'll constantly be hungry. That's another thing. Your sugar levels will be thrown off. Yeah. Get Dr. Berg's electrolyte powder. It is the best in the market. That's the first step. If you guys are consistent with that, come back with me to me. I'll give you the next step. I'll give you the next step later on. But if you get that first, that's the start. Majority of Americans are deficient in potassium magnesium. They say 70 to 80% of it. 70 to 80% of them are deficient in potassium magnesium. And that causes a lot of problems and malfunctions in your body. Patience. That causes a lot of malfunctions in your body. Okay, everyone? Once you get that'll help with a lot of stuff with your body. Help you with your focus, help you with your energy levels, helps you with your sugar levels. And if you take that will be a means, inshallah, for you to fast long. And you won't be hungry so much. Your potassium electrolytes are high, your body's going to burn that, and you won't be hungry as much. And you'll be able to get through your day. Because you could go days without eating, but you can't go without you being dehydrated. I'm just telling you because I'm saying this because I want the brothers and sisters to be up and alert while I'm teaching. I'm sorry. Dr. Berg, B-E-R-G. I'm sorry, Abdul-Mati. Dr. Berg electrolyte powder. Dr. Berg electrolyte powder. I gave it to one brother here in this class. He says but his high blood pressure went away. He says, gone. His high blood pressure is gone. I gave it to the brother in the class. I gave it to him, whose name is Qurban. He's not here today. Qurban told me, he said, I took it. He says, gone. I don't have to take my blood pressure medicine anymore. And women especially need it. And for the women who's listening, you guys definitely need it when you're on your menstruals and your menses. You definitely need that. Especially the women. They really need that. They really need that. It'll take away their moods. It'll make their moods better. They won't crave as much chocolates and sweets as they usually do during the month. And to the end of it. Because it regulates their blood sugar levels. It regulates it. That is very important. That's the reason why the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said to break your fast with dates. You know why? Because dates is high potassium magnesium. It helps you restore your electrolytes. There's a reason why the Messenger of Allah said to do that, to break your dates. Break your fast with dates. There's a reason for that. There's a reason is for it. One of them is it helps restore your electrolytes because you're dehydrated from the rest of the day from not eating and drinking. So you need your electrolytes replenished, right, everyone? One of the ways you do it is what? You take dates. Dates is very high, especially the ones from Medina, not the ones, I don't like the Majdoul ones in California. The ones that's from Medina are very high in potassium magnesium. That's why the Messenger of Allah recommended you break your fast with it before anything else. Because your insulin and your sugar levels in your body is extremely sensitive while you're fasting. And the first thing you put in your body is going to, the sugar level is going to go extremely high. Because your insulin is extremely sensitive. So you need something that's going to buffer it and check it. So the food that you put into it later, the sugar levels will not shoot up to the roof. So then that's what you'll find, inshallah, after Isha, when it's time to take Tawheed, you're not going like this. Because you broke your fast with some Doritos and some Pepsi, and you shot your sugar levels up to the roof. Now you're knocked out on the floor somewhere. See, now you need to see what I'm talking about, but you need a class to know how to eat. These foods out here is only occasional treats. It's not for something you should be utilizing as a daily source of nutrients on a daily basis. That's the reason why I want you guys in the communities try to make you sharp in every way. This is my way of thinking. Not making just people sharp in the ilm, making you sharp as far as knowing how to eat, how to take care of yourself, because that's all part of the religion. It's clear what I'm saying, everyone? Right. So now let's move on. I'm sorry, before the next one, who's you about to say? Because we want to cover the Messiah. I know about Dr. Sebi. He has a little bit of things with him you got to watch. I'll tell you about it later. But the first things first, for the first step, get that electrolyte powder. Get that. That's the best in the market. That's the best in the market by far. There's nothing else similar to that I've seen of giving you that type of extent of potassium, magnesium, that high level. One scoop is like 1,000 milligrams. That's a lot. If you look right now, go on your phones with Google, check it. All you got to do is, because you don't have to believe me, check it for yourself. How much does the human body need of potassium per day? Look what comes up. Look what comes up. Over 3,000. That's a lot. And on top of that, majority of Americans eat foods that strip your body of it. So not only are you giving enough, but you're also coming with another what? Another factor that deprives you of it, which is eating and consuming a lot of sugary and junk food. A lot of sugar strips in your body of it. What came up on your phone? How much? What is it? Say it for me. 3,500 milligrams to 4,700. And you wonder why we have so many problems, our bodies are dysfunction. 3,500 to 4,700 milligrams per day. If you ever get to that level, you'll see your body starting to work on another level. Trust me. I've done it before. Sometimes I go 5,000 one day. And I'll be able to drive. I remember I drove on a trip. I didn't eat anything. I drove 6-7 hours straight, and I was still up when I arrived. And I was able to help my family out, take things upstairs, and I had a whole bunch of energy, and I was still able to read and do a whole bunch of other stuff. And you got 4,700. The point of the matter is over how much? 3,000 per day. Keep that in mind. I'll teach you guys that later. There's something else you need too. But that's the first step. Get that. You guys need to get on top of that. Whoever has high blood pressure, you take that, that's going to help. If you notice on majority of the medicines that the non-Muslims use, right now, if you go to a store, look on the back. It says, for example, those drinks that help you go to sleep at night. Look on the back of it, magnesium, potassium. They know what you're lacking. For even now, even my sister told me, because she works with now even different types of medicines. She said, you know what they're using now, even for moods, to put people in their better mood. Lacking potassium, magnesium. I couldn't believe it. Right on the back of the medicine. Remember back in the day when people were constipated, milk and magnesia? What was on the back of it? Magnesium, potassium, right on the back of it to help you go to the bathroom. Also, if you go to the ER for people who's having heart attacks and strokes, the first thing they check is lack of potassium, magnesium. When you have a heart attack or you have a stroke, the first thing they check is deficiency potassium, magnesium. Because deficiency of potassium, magnesium will cause a heart attack and a stroke. And the list goes on and on and on. Blood pressure, the same thing. Because without potassium, magnesium, the coronary or the actual blood where the capillaries that the blood passes through become real strict and tight. The potassium helps relax it. So now the blood is flowing the way it's supposed to, and then as a result of it, the blood pressure goes away. I had high blood pressure before 7 years ago, bad. And once I started getting my electrolytes regulated, gone. I don't have it no more. I just was in the hospital a couple of weeks ago. When I was in the hospital, doctors kept scratching their head because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. But at the end of the day, they see your high blood pressure is gone. They said it's gone. You don't have it no more. Clear what I'm saying so far? Like, this is the reason why I want the communities to be sharp. I want you guys to be sharp, not only in knowledge, but when you're in my class, I want you guys to be awake. Because it's real important. It's not knowledge beneficial. You guys are going like this. Like, let's get to the Masail. Read it for me. Read the first Masala. Where's your book? See? Where's your dad? Like, read the first Masala. The matter of the last part of the chapter. The last part of the chapter. Ahsant. The first one is Tafsir al-Awthan. The Tafsir of al-Awthan. What is the meaning of Awthan, everyone? course. What's the difference between Al-Sanam wa Awthan? What's the difference? I spoke about this before. What's the difference between Sanam and Wathan? Huh? What's the difference? I said this before. Huh? Wathan or Sanam? What's the difference? Sanam is what? Sanam or Wathan? أحسنت. ما وضع على صورة. ما وضع على صورة. Sanam is what was put upon an image. Upon an image, whether it be حيوان or insan, whether it be the picture of a human being or an animal. That's a sanam. Wathan is more general. It could be an animal, it could be a human being, it could be a rock, it could be a tree, it could be oatmeal, whatever. It could be a sun, the moon, the stars. That's a wathan. You focus? So what's a wathan? What's a wathan? That's not that's part of the definition, but generally, what's a wathan? You have to say oatmeal, huh? Tafadal. Wathan can have in an image. You can sum it up by saying wathan. Tafadal. Jayyid is anything. Basically, you want to sum it up. What's put upon an image or other than an image. Just to sum it up. That's a wathan. Sanam usually is what was put upon an image, whether it be a human being or an animal. That's a sanam. Wathan is more general. It could be a picture of a person, it could be a person, or it could be an animal, or it could be a rock, it could be a tree, it could be a star, the sun, whatever. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's a wathan. So that is the meaning of al-wathan. Or it could be a grave. And in this regard, in this context, what we're discussing now, we're speaking about what, everyone? We're speaking about graves. So a grave can be a what? It can be utilized and taken as a what? I can say, what's it taken? Taken as a what? As a wathan. It could be taken as a wathan. That's due to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Was it clearly saying in the chapter, everyone? Oh Allah, la taj'al qabri wathanan yu'bad. Oh Allah, do not make my grave a wathan that is worshipped. It is worshipped. It's not supposed to say taken, right? Taken, English. At any rate, is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Huh? Taib. Need the next matter. He needs it. Abdul-Hadi, he needs his book. Because look at this. Second one. The explanation of the meaning of what? Worship. Tafsir al-ibadah. What is the meaning of worship? Huh? What'd you say, Suhail? I can't hear you. Ibadah generally, of course, glorifying, play, that's part of it. Tafadal. Let me hear from the children that get you. Tafadal. Jayyid. That's part of it. To ask a human being or something creative for something you would ask Allah for. That's part of it. Ahsan. But generally, let's give a more comprehensive definition. Huh? The ibadah starts with what? Starts with the heart, the i'tiqad, the belief. طيب. Tafsir al-ibadah, just to give that tafadal. Jayyid. Kullama ahsant. That's also one of the meanings of the ibadah, which is everything that Allah loves. Kullama yuhibbuhullah wa yardah. Everything that Allah loves and what is pleased with. Of statements and actions which internalize, or what is done in the belief, of course, with the heart, and what is done outwardly. You have that? What is done outwardly with the actions. Also, what is the foundation of ibadah? Like we said, it is tadallul wal khudu'. As we talked about this before. Everything in the aspects of worship are founded upon what? Dhul and mahabba. Which is what? What is the meaning of tadallul or dhul? What is the meaning of it, everyone? We said the meaning of the foundations of the ibadah, that they all return to these two affairs, which is what? Number one, a dhul, utmost of subservience, or if you want to say, servitude. Servitude. With the utmost of love. That is the foundation of every worship. That it revolves around that what? Those two affairs. Every aspect of worship after that, you establish those two matters that we said, then other aspects of worship are established around those two what? Prerequisites, such as fear, hope, love, magnification, glorification, to the end of those different types of worship. That you fear something Allah created just as you would fear Allah. Or that you will love something of the creation like you love Allah. Or that you will hope for mercy from the creation like you hope from Allah. Or that you fear the anger of something of the creation such as the anger of Allah. Feeling, if I commit this sin, so-and-so, wali, will punish me. If I commit this sin, I'll have fear of the sheikh that he will punish me and descend a punishment upon me and maybe render me injured in my life. My life will not be blessed by this so-called human being. If a person has this belief, like we said, this nullifies Islam. You have the same fear as you fear Allah, the same love that you have for Allah. All those matters is the aspect of worship in which, if one is to fall into this type for anything in the creation, Islam is nullified. Your Islam is what? Is nullified. طيب. So if you notice, even in the context, it even gives a little tafsir. It says, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, everyone. Tafsir al-ibadah. The message of Allah ﷺ clearly mentioned in the hadith in your books. What does it say, everyone? Allahumma la taj'al qabri wathanan yu'bad. Oh Allah, do not make my grave an idol worshipped. Worship how, everyone? To go to the grave of the message of Allah, and start the what? I said to everyone, 4 things which usually takes place in the Muslim world. The beginning of the class. Number 1 was what? Slaughter for other than Allah. If you go to the grave of anyone, if the message of Allah or any individual, it doesn't matter whether they're righteous or if they're wretched. It doesn't matter. If you slaughter for them, not slaughter for Allah, your Islam is nullified. You understand, everyone? If you make dhabh, you offer a sacrifice for other than Allah, for that person's deceased, and it does not justify that he or she is righteous. If you do it, your Islam is nullified. Another thing that happens with the grave, especially in the Muslim world today, is what? I just said it. The second one. They're taking an oath to these what? To the deceased or to the graves. Or to the person that's in the grave. You're saying, for example, oh Messenger of Allah, cure my sick, and if you do, I'll fast for you 20 days straight. This is an oath. If you take this type of oath, your religion of Islam or the religion of Islam is nullified. It's nullified. Hold on for 1 second. It's nullified. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? You sure? Oh, Messenger, for example, a person goes to the grave and message of Allah, forgive me of my sins. Oh, Messenger of Allah, if you forgive my sins, I will pray Qiyam al-Layl, then it's upon me for you to pray Qiyam standing, I'll pray Tahajjud for 2 weeks straight. If a person says this and does this, what is it? Is this Tawheed? No, this is polytheism. And the fact that you're doing it for the message of Allah does not make it what? Correct. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. If that's for the message of Allah, it's for all the more reason that this applies for who? For everyone else. No matter who it is. Is it clear what I'm saying? Whether it be Abdul Qadir Jilani or whether it be anyone. from those who are considered the righteous. And Abdul Qadir Jilani really was someone of the Sunnah. However, the Sufis are the ones who took or raised him above his level and went to the extremes in regards to him, rahimahullah. But Abdul Qadir Jilani, as I mentioned in a lot of classes, the Abdul Qadir Jilani was from Ahlul Sunnah. He was. Just because the Sufis went astray in regards to his affair does not mean that he wasn't a person that was what? That he was a person that wasn't righteous. That's not the case. However, the Sufis that they did was distort his sum'ah, or what was said about him. They distorted it, and as a result of it, they worshipped him and lied upon him. It said things that even the person that truly studied the religion of Islam correctly would never say out of their mouth. Such as Abdul Qadir Jilani, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fell and he picked him up. And all the other nonsense that they say. He's laughing. They say a whole lot of nonsense, the Sufis. Sufis, you would think that a lot of their things is absolute comics or worse. You understand, everyone? After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala fell and Abdul Qadir Jilani picked him up. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Taib. For that which we say, these are the 4 types of worship. You'll find that if one was to do it, they have nullified the Islam. Whether we said number 1, what takes place, what would we say? Number 1 is what? I just said it. Slaughter set. Number 2. Take a vow. Take an oath. Number 3. Tamassuh, which is, when in actuality is called tabarruk. Rubbing yourself against the dirt. Rubbing your body against the dirt. Or rubbing your body even on the person's body, if they're alive. Trying to attain so-called barakah by what? By touching the person, or touching their saliva, or taking their saliva and rubbing it on you, or taking their sweat and rubbing it on you. Yeah, there's people out here that do that out of ignorance. Yes, it is. That rub their bodies, or rub their dirt, or what have you. All this is polytheism. This is only for the message of Allah during his time that one could do this. After that, after his death, alayhi salatu wasalam, then one cannot seek barakah by anyone or anything. As we talked about that chapter and we covered it already. Taib, what was the 4th thing I said? Tawaf. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I think the English word is circumambulation. Around the Kaaba. Circumambulation. For a person that does that, if you do it for other than Allah, or other than the Kaaba, or other than the house of Allah, then Islam is nullified. There's a grave in Egypt, you'll find the people performing tawaf around the grave, which is the grave of who, everyone? I talked about this already. The grave of Badawi. The grave of Badawi. And Badawi wasn't even a person of the Sunnah. Badawi wasn't even a person of the Sunnah. Rather, he was a person that was Shi'i Sufi. He was Shi'i Sufi. But at any rate, because we talked about before, Egypt at one time was a marta'un khasbun li-Shia. It was founded by the Fatimiyun, al-Batiniyun. They're the ones that used to occupy Egypt. They're a group and they're a sect from the Shia. They used to occupy Egypt. And they were the ones that were dominant. People from the deviant sect that called themselves from the Shia, Fatimiyun. Fatimiyun. Actually, they were Ubaydiyun. At any rate, they ascribed themselves to Fatimiyun, and they're a group of the Shia. They're a group of the Shia. That's why you'll find that the grave of, especially a Badawi, is a very famous grave in Egypt that they glorify, and some of them make tawaf around. Why? He was Sufi Shi'i, because like we said, the majority of Egypt was ran by what? At one point in time, it was occupied, the majority of them, by the Shia. Not only were they Fatimiyun, they were Batini. They were Shi'i, Fatimi, Batini, Ubaydi. Sufi, and they were Sufis, and they were Shi'i. And they were Fatimi, Batini. They were Batiniya. And they occupied Egypt. That's the reason why you'll find in Egypt, in regards to now, the university called Jami'at al-Azhar, before they became dominant with the Ash'ari Aqidah, they were upon, and they were propagating, and they were teaching in the curriculum, Shi'iyya, Rafd. They was teaching them Rafidiyya, or Rafd. Before it became famous, of them predominantly becoming what? People who called to the Ash'ari Aqidah. As we know currently right now as it stands, they're people who what? Called the Ash'ariyah. Before that, it was what? It was Shi'i and it was Rafid. That's what they used to teach in university. That's why we said Badawi is a famous grave in Egypt, because like we said, Egypt at one time was occupied by the who, everyone? By the Fatimiyun, the Ubaydiyun, who are a branch of devious sect of the Shia, and they were Batini. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Jayyid. But at any rate, these are the 4 things you'll find that a lot of Muslims do in a lot of Muslim countries, along with them loving certain people, how they would love Allah, and fear of a punishment of Allah, a fear of for punishment of an individual, that they'll fear the punishment of Allah, and the wrath of a person, as if their wrath or that individual was the wrath of Allah or the anger of Allah. If a person does this or raise anyone or anything to this level, yet Islam, Suhail, is nullified. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. Third matter. تفضل. أحسنت. The third matter is, it says أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يستعذ إلا مما يخاف وقوعه. The message of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he did not seek refuge in Allah except from something that more than likely it was going to what? It was going to happen. It was going to take place. And this did take place. This did take place. And in this is a refutation against those Christians who will come at you and say, well, you guys worship Muhammad. Just because the people do it does not mean that the religion called to it. So the religion is correct. Right, everyone? The message of Allah ﷺ never called to the worship of him. Rather, he made dua to Allah that he would not be taken as a deity of worship, and that his grave not be taken as such. In contrast to what happened to the Christians before. As like we said, the religion of Christianity has been distorted, has not been protected. However, the Risala al-Muhammadiyah, the last final revelation, has been sent to everyone, all humanity, all around the dunya, has been protected. However, the distortions of Paul's with the people, or the majority of Christians, that's what they want. That's what they follow. Is all the distortions of Paul, such as, like we said, taking Jesus, the son of Mary, as a deity of worship. As a deity of worship, calling him Rabb, or thanking Jesus in their prayers. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, such and such. Thank you for giving us this food that we have. Our Lord Jesus Christ, as some of them say, our Lord Jesus Christ, which is taking him as a deity of worship. طيب. The message of Allah ﷺ clearly said in this narration that he sought refuge in Allah from anyone taking him as a deity of worship. Seeking refuge in Allah from that, and that he made dua that his grave not be taken as what? As a weapon, as an idol that is worshipped besides Allah Ta'ala. طيب. The next one is, what's the fourth? قرنه. It's coupled up. What does it say in your books? The fourth, how do they translate it? What does it say? Coupled, say it again. What does it say? Oh, Jayyid. He coupled this. Hold on, let me look back. He coupled this with taking the Prophet's graves as masajid. Oh, okay, I see what it is. Yeah, I see it. طيب, that's clear. The fifth, mentioning the what? The intensity of Allah's wrath upon a people. Here is what, everyone, we just said, that this narration clearly shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the characteristic of what? Anger and wrath. And what type of characteristic is it, everyone? It's a characteristic of Allah's essence, a characteristic of Allah's action. Which one? Action. Sifatun fi'liyah. It's a characteristic of Allah's action. Allah does it when He wills, how He wills, in a manner He wills, if He wills. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and His ghadab, His anger, happens at a time if the abd or the slaves or the servants of Allah does something for the reason of Allah ta'ala becoming angry with the individual. Meaning at a specific time he does an act or some type of disobedience which will earn the anger of Allah ta'ala. In contrast to say the opposite, which is, let's just say that the servant was under the wrath of Allah for a long time. He was in a state of kufr and shirk or what have you. And then one day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired him to be what? Guided properly. So it switched now from the anger of Allah now to what? For Allah ta'ala being pleased with him. And being pleased with the abd. So these are from the characteristics of Allah's what? Actions. Give me another example of the actions of Allah. Hold on, kids. I'm going to get to you. Yeah, give me another example. The action of Allah. Tafadhal, Camden. Bilal. Stop it all. I forgot. We changed it. Huh? Give me a characteristic of Allah. That's the actions of Allah. Tafadhal. I couldn't hear you. What did you say? When you heal? No, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears, that's not from the action. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have the characteristic of healing. He heals, but He does not heal from anything. Huh? Hears you? Oh, when He heals you. Oh, when a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heals you. Oh, no. I thought you said He healed. Never, I understand. Jayyid. Ahsant. Another example. Yakhluq, He creates. Jayyid. Subhanallah. That has some details in it, but Jayyid, that's a good example. Tayyib. Huh? Protection. Give me a characteristic, brothers and sisters. Characteristic. Shafi is correct. You said Allah cures. La shafi illa shifa'uk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cures. There's no cure except His cure. Tayyib. Huh? Dissension. Ascension. Tayyib. Give me here what we're speaking about. Anger. Huh? Wrath. Being pleased. Ahsant. The love of Allah to the end of it. All those are what, everyone? From the actions of Allah ta'ala. Jayyid. Next one. Next matter. Jayyid. And this is what the great Imam Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab focus Suhail. Let your mind wander. The most important of these matters, he says, وَهِيَ مِنْ أَهَمِّهَا. From the most important is to have knowledge of صِفَةِ عِبَادَةِ اللَّاتِ. Knowledge of the characteristic of what? What is it? How do you translate in your books the 6? I want to hear it. Tafadhal. The most important affair is to know, have knowledge of the, what again? How do you translate it? Is to learn what? The origins of what? Of the worship of the Lat, of the idol was named Lat, to learn its origins, why it was worshipped. What was the reason? What was the reason? What caused it? Huh? Is that simple? That's not only that. But the mentioning of Lat, as we said, he was tafadhal. He said arrogance? No. We know that Lat was a what? He was righteous. He was a righteous man. Lat with a shadda on it. He was a righteous man. Tayyib. what he used to do, he used to stand at a certain place and he used to give that food to the Hujjaj, to the pilgrims who came for Hajj. Right, everyone? Taib. He's devoted in that spot. He used to give and feed the Hujjaj in that particular spot where he used to, where he used to what? Where he used to do this act, which was an act of righteousness. Taib. When they stopped, or when he died, of course, not only did the people started now going to that particular place and spending a lot of time until they became devoted in that place. And then when he died, as a result of it, like we said, they took him as an idol of worship. There's something specific I want to get here that I want to speak about. Taib. There's something else I want to go beyond what I'm discussing here. Notice that the ibadah of Lat, like we said, he was a righteous man who died. He did a righteous act. The people became devoted to a place where he used to feed the pilgrims. They occupied it, spent a lot of time. They thought it was something special about it and him. And as a result of it, they started what? Worshipping him, and especially in that particular place. Taib, it's something I want to add on to this. During the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, and I want you to listen. During the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, Lat was only utilized to be taken as a deity, not to the point where they believed that he had any type of impact on its existence. That wasn't the belief of the polytheists in regards to Lat. So this is where I'm going with it. They had no belief that he had any ta'thir, any effect on your life or anything. They didn't have that belief. Keep in mind that this particular sin they fell into was enough for them to be put in the hellfire forever. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? If you look at your book, Suhail, where's your books? You guys, what happened to you guys in your books? In your books. Taib, you bought this one. I want the other one. Keep in mind, during the time of the Message of Allah, the mushrikeen of Al-Arab, like we said, took Lat as a deity, no doubt. It was enough for them to commit this act of what? The fact that they just took him as a wasil, as a mediator and intercessor, was enough for them to be landed in the hellfire forever. You understand? That in itself was enough. They had no belief that Lat had any impact on its existence, meaning them conducting in this existence whatsoever. They had none. The mushrikeen did not believe that. They only took these type of deities as wusata or shufa'a, as mediators and intercessors only. That's it. The time in the DR fitna these days at times, especially with the Muslims, raise the bar of polytheism, even though we do not make takfir of the common folks of the Muslims. However, the act that they're doing, this specifically, is something worse than the polytheists were doing during their time. Whereas they only did not, because we know during the time of the Messenger of Allah, they only found the polytheism and the aspect of ibadah, of worship only, not in the aspect of what? Lordship. Whoa, that came out. Sorry, everyone. Not in the aspect of what? Lordship. I can move my voice back. Not in the aspect of what? Of worship. Lordship. They believe ultimately that Allah Ta'ala is the one who provides, who creates, who sustains, who has any type of effect on the creation. That was the problem with Lat. However, during these times, from the deviant sects of the Muslims, and I keep emphasizing this by saying, brothers and sisters, we are not declaring them to make takfir. We're not declaring them to be kuffar. We're not people of takfir where we rush and hasten towards declaring someone to be out the fold of Islam. That's not what I'm going with it. However, their act that they're doing is what? Is an act that was worse than what the polytheism were doing before. Why? Because you'll find that the Muslims of today, especially starting from the Shia and what the Sufis inherited from the Shia. As we know, they believe in their 12 Imams, what they call it Ithna Ashariya Imamiyya. What they call it Imamiyya Ithna Ashariya. They're 12 Imams that they say that can conduct in this existence, meaning they have some type of effect or impact on your life. Brothers and sisters, this is polytheism in the aspect of what? Of lordship. This is worse than the polytheism of during the time of the Messenger of Allah. Is it clear what I'm saying? Is it not clear? Hassan, are you understanding what I'm saying? This is very important. This is very, very important what I'm saying to you. If you understand this point, your Islam and learning other affairs of your religion can be built on top of this. If you don't get this down pat, then you have a weak foundation. Tafaddal. It's time for the salat already? Wow. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Hurry up, Caden. Musa. ولا قوة إلا بالله. الله أكبر الله أكبر. ورب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد الصيد الفضيلة وبعث المقام. طيب, let's continue. طيب, as I said, the time of the, like we said, the Shia, especially from the Rawafid, that believe what they call Ithna Ashariya Imamiyya or Imamiyya Ithna Ashariya. They believe that they're 12 Imams who are at the level of Allah that could conduct in this existence. They have an impact or an effect on the people and in these certain affairs that take place or transpire in this dunya or in this existence in general. They have an impact upon that. That is rububiyyah. This type of polytheism, the polytheists during the time of the Messenger of Allah did not fall into. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? They did not fall into that. To let you know the high level of deviance and of a perverted understanding of the religion, they have what? Fell into. So perverted that even the Mushrikeen didn't even believe that. See, not only do you have the Muslims who what? Before that, the Shia, the Rawafid, then the Sufis adopted it, adopted their methodology, and adopted this type of way. Where you'll find that what they do with their Sufi mashayikh and their Sufi mashayikh, what they do, what they call their murid, their muridihim. Their murid, their fathers are called the murid. And their sheikh is called a sheikh, a tariqah. That's what they're famous for, calling sheikh a tariqah. Their sheikh a tariqah have adopted this type of method from the Shia, where the murid comes to the so-called sheikh, and you find that they say that the sheikh was devoted to khidmah in the dunya. Their sheikh was divided, excuse me, I'm sorry everyone. He said that the sheikh was divided in this dunya, of what rather they were practicing Islam, what they were what? No, that was right what I said the first time. They were devoted to khidmah in this dunya, service, which is what they say, worship. But after some of them are devoted to worship, some of them. Then after they die, they conduct in this existence. How Allah conducts in this existence of good and evil and things happening in people's lives and certain things that happen individually in all of our lives and all the events that take place. So in this world, he was doing khidmah, service. After he died, he is now devoted to what? Astaghfirullah. He's now devoted to rububiyyah, where he's conducting this in this existence. Has an impact or an effect on people, their lives, women getting pregnant. I want this one to be what? Alive, that one to be dead, that one to have sustenance, that one not to have sustenance. This is the ideologies what was adopted from the Rawafid, from the Shia. Is it clear what I'm saying? They took it from the Rafid. You'll find a lot of Sufiya was took it from Rafid. It is. So in this aspect, we want to gather up by saying and draw a conclusion by saying, quickly, because I don't want to go too deep into this, by saying this type of act is worse than what? The polytheists during the time of the Message of Allah. Because their polytheism was in what? Uluhiyyah. The shirk of what you'll find from the deviant sects of the Muslims are in what? Rububiyyah and uluhiyyah together. Especially those who are upon Rafid, upon Shi'iyah, or what they call Rafid, and Sufism. Especially. They fall into polytheism and rububiyyah and uluhiyyah together. To let you know how perverted the religion of what they want, practice, and how warped and how distorted it is. To the point where it reached this level. Is it clear what I'm saying, Suhail? So who's better, the polytheists of old in this aspect only? Who's better? Whose shirk polytheism is worse? Whose polytheism was worse, Suhail? What do you say? With the polytheists of who? I can't hear you. Oh, can I repeat it? Pay attention. Whose polytheism was worse, Musa? The people of today. Jade. From who? Bilal? Jade. They found the rububiyyah. Did the polytheists of the past found the rububiyyah? No. I said. So what did they take these people, what this, for example, Lat here, which is in your was in the matters here. What did they take Lat as? What did they do? What was the polytheism? What was it? What exactly was it? It was in uluhiyyah, ahsan, no doubt. But what did they do? They took them as what? Exactly, but how? What did they do? Shafa'a, wasata, taking them as a middleman between them and Allah, or a shafi', or an intercessor, or mediator. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That was the polytheists of during the time of the Message of Allah. That in itself was enough for them to land in the hellfire forever. What do you think about people who make shirk and rububiyyah and uluhiyyah together? If they die upon that. What do you think the magnitude of what they've done? That's tremendous, isn't it, everyone? Like I said, keep in mind, I'm not saying that they're kuffar. We don't want to go to Muslim lands and countries and say, oh, that's a kafir, that's a kafir, that's a kafir. La. That is not befitting at all. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Due to the fact of what they've been influenced by those evil callers that have affected them and took them astray because they put their trust in their so-called ulama and they led them astray. But however, this act is an act, by saying it's an act that is worse than what the polytheists of the past had done. Is it clear what I'm saying? Jade. The eighth, so we can hurry up and pray. Eighth matter, because we want to conclude the chapter. Eighth matter, tafadal. Jade. The name of that particular inhabitant of the grave. So you guys see the reason why the people of the Sunnah start with these matters first and raising their communities and building their communities upon these matters because they're the most important. They're most what? They're most important. I've seen actual Muslims. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it that they beg people, women. There was women that were fully covered in niqab on a specific. It was on a specific tweet. They on a down, and my family showed me this. She said, "This is the reason why you need to focus on Tawheed." Full in niqab woman talked about saying, "My zodiac sign is such and such." I said, "Wow! Obviously, you did not study Tawheed a day." I'm a Libra, such and such. I said, "Wow." Fully covered, Muslim. Fully covered. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? This is what I'm trying to teach everyone here. And that's embarrassing. Fully niqab, black, everything, fully covered. Right by her name, my zodiac sign is such and such. I said, wow. That was heart aching. That hurt the heart. I said, wow, the whole reason why you're doing this and you're saying that. The whole reason why you're fully covered and you're saying that right next to the name. Right on a social media tweet right under it. I said, wow. I said, this is where we're at with it. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? Taib. So we say this. And this is very important. The name of the person at the grave. The name of the individual says, Ismu sahib al-qabr wa dhikru ma'na tazmiyah. The name of the person who died. His name was who? Latun. Not Lat. His name was Latun with a shadda on the ta. Right, everyone? Taib. And we said the meaning why he was called that. We said that. Taib. Ninth, because we're almost finished. We already talked about and discussed the matter in regards to the women visiting the graves. We gave a lot of details in that. Go back to the lesson because that's very important. Very, very important to listen to. The women that constantly visit the graves. There's some details in that to go back to the class that we did because that covered a lot of detail. Taib, the 10th. Jayyid. La'nahu man asrajaha. Jayyid. The Prophet ﷺ cursing the one who light those what? Those isra or those suruj. Those suruj. Any type of lighting around the grave, anything upon the grave, anything that's lighted around it, that will cause the curse of the Messenger of Allah, who's the curse of Allah, to descend upon a person. Does that apply on a person that carries it in the grave for necessity if they need to bury the person? We said what? No. Or for example, utilizing the car as some light so one can see what he's doing or she is doing to bury, or what he is doing to bury the deceased. All those could be used if it's for a maslahah, if it's for a need. And after they finish, but they cannot leave the what? The light. Just, for example, just focusing or beaming on the what? Or focusing on that particular grave. If a person does that, falls under the la'na of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that they curse the person that does this. But as far as those lights that are used to see at night, if they have to do something in the grave or is a need, then just bring it in with them and they leave out with it and they extinguish it, that's no problem. Inshallah, it's no problem. Or for example, like we said, for those people sometimes they have like a little room that they use to watch over the graves to make sure nothing strange takes place, or what have you, and it's taken and the lights is utilized inside, then that's also what, as we said and mentioned, that's no problem, inshallah. But if there's lighting that's gleaming on the grave, like how you see something specifically focused on it, like 5 lights that's pointing in one place, or all those type of matters, those are the things that are prohibited, highly prohibited, because it opens the door where shaitan will come and decorate, and as a result of it, one day the people will start to think that it's something special, and there's a distinguishing factor about that person. As a result of it, they what? Fall into polytheism. And they will fall into the most pathetic, most uglified, vilified, disgusting sin that any human being can commit. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Taib. Any questions about the lesson? So we can stop. Anything? Tafadal Bilal. Not dirt on their body. Just say good called tabarruk, to seek blessing. Seek blessing One of the ways they seek blessing is by wiping dirt on themselves. Alhamdulillah. That's one of them, wiping dirt on. It's called tabarruk, seeking blessing by wiping dirt on themselves. There's other ways they used to do it. For example, and I gave different examples, like for example, touching their hair, touching their bodies. You'll see some Sufi mashayikh, they'll go like this, touching them, shaykh, trying to touch them to attain reward. Touching, and they'll even, their saliva, and some in other ways, I don't want to mention some of the other things. Is it clear what I'm saying? Is it clear? Their saliva, their sweat, and everything. By attaining some type of what? Barakah, by touching them. So it's not just merely just by dirt, but it could be also by what, everyone? Whether it be from their hair, from their saliva, to their sweat, to the end of it. Thinking that it's some type of barakah or some type of reward you'll get as a result of touching it or rubbing it or keeping it or what have you. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That we said this in the previous classes. We said that was only specifically for who? For the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. No more, no less. After that, it was not permissible to seek barakah with anyone, no matter who it is. No matter who it is. Whether they be righteous or wretched. It's not permissible to seek barakah with anyone after the death of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. And that was the ijma' as a consensus, because you'll find that none of the Sahaba did it after his death with anyone. You see clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. Last, he had another question. Oh, well, I'm sorry. You were supposed to tell me. What was the fourth one? The fourth one was tawaf, circumambulation. Going around the grave, like go and make a tawaf. Going around. Tafadhal. No, the most utmost of servitude, the most utmost of love. That is the foundations of every worship. Clear? What does Ibn al-Qayyim say in his poetry? He says in Nuniyah, وعبادة الرحمن غاية حبه مع الذل عابده هما قطبان وعليهما فلك العبادة دائر ما دار حتى قامت القطبان ومدار الأمر أمر رسوله لا بالهوى والنفس والشيطان. That's what he said in his poetry. Beautiful poetry. Beautiful, rahimahullah. If you memorize Nuniyah, you'll be an asad in the sunnah. He said, وعبادة الرحمن غاية حبه مع الذل عابده هما قطبان وعليهما فلك العبادة دائر ما دار حتى قامت القطبان ومدار الأمر أمر رسوله لا بالهوى والنفس والشيطان. He says that the ibadat al-Rahman is the utmost غاية حبه, the most utmost of love. مع ذل عابده هما قطبان. With the most servitude of the slave, they are the two قطبان. They are the two pillars. فعليهما فلك العبادة دائر ما دار حتى قامت القطبان. Upon those two pillars, all the aspect of worship revolves around. And they will never revolve around, or never revolve until those two pillars have been what? Established. So it's غاية الذل مع غاية الحب, the most utmost of the hub with the most utmost of what, everyone? Love. Or servitude. Astaghfirullah. So why we say that? Because if you worship Allah Ta'ala, there has to be both. You can love a person, you can have servitude with a person, but at the same time you can hate their guts. How many times do people do things for people and their hearts are cursing the individual, but they still doing servitude, still doing service. But at the end of the day is what? There's no love there. I hate his guts. I'll still do it anyway, because I have to do it. That's similar to what happened with slavery in the past. They hated the what? Hated their guts. At the end of the day, he still was performing what? Khidmah. He still was doing servitude. Then you have the opposite. You have people who say they love, but they have no servitude. They make a claim. I love, but true love manifests in where? In the service that you do, and in your actions. So it's not enough that you make the claim and you have the love and you have it. You have to have khidmah, you have to have what? Servitude. The worship of what you do is what? Also displays and manifests that you truly what? That you love that individual, because it's also displaying in the service that you put forth. That's why it says in the poetry تعصي الإله وتظهر حبه هذا محال في القياس بديع لو كان حبك صادقا لأطعته إن المحب لمن يحب مطيع. That's another poetry. He says that you disobey Allah. تعصي الإله وتظهر حبه هذا محال في القياس بديع لو كان حبك صادقا لأطعته إن المحب لمن يحب مطيع. It says clearly in the poetry, you disobey Allah even though you claim you love Him. Even in an analogy, that doesn't make absolute any sense. Right now, if someone said they love you, but they keep abusing you every day and going against what you say every day, you claim you take what they say literally with a huge grain of salt, right? You wouldn't even accept it from them, would you? Somebody keeps saying, I love you, but they keep cheating you, stealing from you, smacking you, calling out your name, disrespect, cutting you, doing everything, punching you, beating you. Oh, that's not enough you just saying that. This also has to be manifest where and how you treat me and what you say also. You understand? طيب. So even this is impossible in an analogy that's not acceptable even with the creation. How much more so with Allah ta'ala? With the Lord of the heavens and the earth. You make a claim you love, it has to manifest where, everyone? In your actions, in the service that you do, in your servitude, in your ibadah, in your belief, which you internalize, and externally, as far as where? In your actions. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Jayid. So that's the two foundations in which every ibadah revolves around, which is غاية الذل مع غاية ايش؟ الحب. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Most utmost of love with the most utmost of what? Servitude. And one is not dependent or free of the other. You cannot do service without you loving Allah ta'ala. You have to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, love what you're doing likewise. You understand? And you cannot just have love without any servitude. I love Allah, but you still commit shirk. You love Allah, but your heart's connected to something else. Alhamdulillah. That's why it says, and you love Allah, but you love His enemies. You understand, everyone? You love who Allah hates, and you hate. You're supposed to hate who Allah hates and love who Allah loves. So now you love who Allah hates. And you take as enemies who Allah loves. Who are the people of Tawheed, the people of Sunnah, people of Salafiyah. And it has nothing to do with color or race. It has everything to do with Aqidah and Minhaj. That's what we make Wala and Bara upon. That's what Ibn al-Qayyim says in another poetry, where he said is the other poetry where he says, it's also new niyyah. What is it? I can't remember it right now. I know it's the last part, but I had the beginning, if anybody can remember it. He says in the last part, he says, and once when I stand up, it'll come right back to me, as soon as I stand up. It usually happens to me all the time. Now, remembered it. أتحب أعداء الحبيب وتدعي حبا له ما ذاك بإمكاني وكذا تعادي جاهدا أحبابه أين المحبة يا أخ الشيطان. That's it. What he says is in new niyyah. Just remember, alhamdulillah. What he said, I'm talking about now, the enemies of Allah ta'ala. He says about them, do you love? I just said it, and I just remembered it, and then I said it, then I forgot to translate it. What he says in the first part of the poetry, the meaning more or less is, أتحب أعداء الحبيب وتدعي حبا له ما ذاك بإمكاني. Do you love the enemies of the one who you claim you love? أتحب أعداء الحبيب وتدعي حبا له ما ذاك بإمكاني. Do you claim that you love him even though you love his enemies? That's impossible. That's not acceptable. وكذا تعادي جاهدا أحبابه أين المحبة يا أخ الشيطان. Likewise, you make enemies who Allah loves. Where is the true love, O akh al-shaytani, O brother of the shaitan? Where's the true love? Is it clear now? So all these things have to manifest in your khidmah and your actions, all of these are true love and the foundations that, well, all the aspects of worship revolve around. These matter, which is غاية الحب مع غاية الذل. Any other questions? Because we got to pray. تفضل. Any other questions? Huh? None other questions? Jade. Alhamdulillah. Anything else? Somebody raised their hand, wasn't it? Was it Jamar? أبقي عندكم شيء؟ انتهينا من الأسئلة. انتهيتم؟ أبقي شيء؟ خلاص. نكتفي بهذا القدر. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.